In the standard coordinate plane, for what value or values of x will the graphs intersect? And we are given two functions, f of x and g of x. F of x equals the absolute value of x, and g of x equals the absolute value of x. So the first thing I notice here is that the functions are identical except for the notation. So it doesn't matter what I put in for x, as long as it's the same in both functions, I'm going to get the same outputs. In other words, let's do a table of values. And I'll just pick some values. I'll use the ones in the answer set. That's a good way to learn these problems, just to know what's happening at each one of those places. So let's do 1 and 0, and then I'm going to pick a -1 and maybe a -5. So if I let x be 1, the absolute value of 1 is 1. The absolute value of 0 is 0. The absolute value of -1 is 1. And the absolute value of -5 is 5. So we could not say that x equals y. That is not the case here. It is the case as long as the values are positive or 0, but it's not the case for all real numbers. Then I have the same situation here. So this is really the point. Those same values would work just as well in this function because they're both the same function. So it's not the values that really make the point here, it's the fact that they're both the same function. So whatever you put into f of x, you're also putting into g of x. And because they're the same function, you would get the same answers. So I'm going to say that it doesn't matter if you put in positive or negative numbers. The output matters, of course, but the functions are the same thing. So you're getting the same thing for both f and g, is what I'm trying to say. And that in no way depends on what you put in to f and g. So I would go with E on this one. For example, if we pick, let's just pick something bizarre. Let's pick -65 for this function. So I put in -65, that's my x value, and the y value is going to be +65 because we have the absolute value. If you put that same -65 into g of x, you will get the same answer that you got for f of x because the function is the same. With functions, it's so tempting to look at the input. But in this case, we have to look at the fact that the functions are identical. So it doesn't matter what I put in there. I'm going to get an identical outcome on either function. And this one messes with my mind a little bit. I don't like these theory questions. I would much rather have a problem to solve. But I would go with E on this one.